Good evening and welcome to this Sunday, February 21st edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Basin, joined by co-host Macy O'Dill, and also joined by the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. Obviously, Mr. Wade, there are a ton of questions. Some you can, some you can't, I guess, or, you know, how this next hour goes is all up to how we relate to what is actually going on with football. Obviously, for a lot of people that will be watching this, the first thing is domestic football. Everyone knows your hands are tied as far as what you wait on, as far as the health department and so forth. But of the latest information you're getting for the domestic football, what is that?
Okay, so first of all, good evening to you guys, and obviously good evening to all your listeners and watchers today. Well, from the domestic football front, we are in phase 3 and we'll begin testing tomorrow. And from what I've been told, the numbers of those who have registered looks pretty good. So we're hopeful that we'll get all the necessary adults tested next week. If that goes well, I'll be frank. I'm waiting for permission to move into phase 4 as quickly as possible. We want to be able to give our competitive teams, especially our senior men, the opportunity to play practice matches. So we won't jump right into league play, but we'll try and give an opportunity to play a couple practice matches. So we're going to be looking for a jump into phase 4 fairly quickly. We've made that application, and you know, I'll be honest, this whole process has been very frustrating.
What is the number percentage-wise needs to be tested in order for you to be able to move to stage 4 overall?
I have no idea, and maybe Mr. Deal can answer that question.
Can you, Mr. Deal? He has to remain silent, I guess.
But no, honestly, I
thought I was be asking the questions.
Sometimes you're put on the spot.
Yeah, I don't have that information.
No, I mean that's a position that's got to be put forward from the Bermuda government. That's what that looks like. Logically speaking, from a football standpoint, you need seven players to play a 11-a-side match. Correct? That's the legal piece of it. So I mean, logically speaking, it was my decision to make. It will be okay. 7 players represents what 65% of the football community. The challenge with the football community, when you look at the clubs, is having all the clubs back up and running so the BFA can structure their league. It does make sense. 10 clubs out of our 19 being compliant, and the other 9, not being compliant because they know you're going to play against. So it's a challenging and have a moving goalpost for us all. It is a frustration journey to get it back up and running.
Okay, well, Mr. President, because time is definitely running out. I mean, you guys had to make that painstaking decision last year to end the season. now we're to a point where it's got to be 11:59 on this season in order to get it restarted and completed in a manner of a decent time frame. We looked at the last time we were talking about moving into stages and speaking with the chairman of competitions. He would have hoped to have, this would have been the second week of actual play, but that has gone by. Now we're looking at maybe second week of March. How does that time frame play into going into the cricket season, finishing at some of these clubs, just the whole logistics of it?
Well, I mean, we find ourselves in a similar situation. Last year, we wanted to respect the cricket season and do our best to not to interfere with them as best we could. So we're finding ourselves in the same situation now, where the football season normally ends the first week of April. We're constitutionally bound by April 30th, and obviously we can go back to the Congress and advise them. Perhaps we'll creep into May a little bit, but I know that the competitions committee are considering playing matches in the evenings to stay away from cricket. I had a brief conversation just to try and consider how many of our players and even staff and club officials are involved in both sports, and that number doesn't look so bad. So we think that we can maybe encroach on cricket season as long as we've released the cricket fields and we're not clashing in terms of events. So we're pretty happy from that perspective. The only challenge is will it come down to having to cancel certain competitions? And as the chairman has already stated, the league is the priority.
Mm-hmm. And then the other, well, actually, let me let Maceo get in if you want. Maceo, get.
So it's been publicly released of the testing schedule with testing centers for football being created at local clubs, Somerset, St. George's, as well as National Sports Center, and the testing center that's been created at the BFA. Is that procedure been a help for football in general to get the athletes out to test it? Where are we with the players' commitment to be tested?
Well, I mean, speaking to players, we've been very encouraged that they're eager to get out and play. So from the few clubs that I've checked in with, they have a large percentage of their senior players have registered for testing. The whole testing center idea was one generated from the BFA, so we're quite happy that that was an idea that was accepted. So we're just trying to get the message out to everyone that let's go ahead and get tested. I think some of the apprehension or even anxiety had to do with what kind of testing. Everybody dreads having this 10-foot long
nasal
inserted in your nasal passage. But once we got information about the saliva testing and what was required, I think people are now a bit more comfortable that they're providing a saliva sample basically in a cup, which is a lot less uncomfortable. So trying to get that message out is what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm. And the other, I guess,
and just
Maceo.
I just lost.
Yeah.
On that, it's another piece though of anxiety. I mean, me and you both being intimately involved in this process. Is an anxiety piece that out there is if somebody comes positive and I'm part of that group and I have to quarantine for 14 days and I work myself, what happens with that? If I have to quarantine, I can't afford that. Is that a conversation that the BFA is having and lobbying for alternative measures in that happening? We know in the professional environment, people being tested 3 times a week, and you're withdrawing the people that are positive. You withdraw that, and the show can continue to go on. What does that look like for football and how they cross over into their private lives and their employment lives?
We've had this conversation ongoing with the PS of youth, culture, and sport, and we've also been in conversations with someone from the Department of Health, and that battle continues. And at the moment, it's a personal choice with individuals, and they would have to decide. The inconsistencies, if I be as bold to say that, the inconsistencies in regulations is another frustrating part of this process. So the battle continues from that perspective.
I want to welcome Coach Kita, but I do want to go right into the next part, Mr. Wade, and that is obviously the international realm. We know we're knocking on the door in a matter of just over a month. We're due to play 2 international matches, one away from home and one at home. What is the latest, if you can give any update regarding those matches?
All right, so I'm sitting on the latest information, but I'm unable to release the most important parts of it. But I will say that the dates of the games will not change, and we will play those games. What we were waiting for is for Canada to declare where they will play their home game. We do have that information, shall I say, unofficially. What we're waiting for them, there's agreements and contracts that have to be signed, and in this business, until there's a signature on the dotted line, you don't really announce anything. So, we're have been promised that Canada will have all of their documentation completed tomorrow. So tomorrow we should be able to announce where we're going to play this game on the 25th.
30th.
Canada is the first match, sir.
No, the 30th.
Oh, they said the match on the 30th will be in Bermuda. That will be in Bermuda.
Okay. All right. There you have it. Okay. Coach Kita, any initial questions before we go to commercial break?
No, but I do want to commend Maceo and his team for the testing process. I had my girls, 15s, 17s, and seniors have all been tested. I think we have maybe about 5 girls or women out of those 3 groups that have yet to test, and through no fault of anyone's. It was just some, I believe, have tested recently. So it was just getting some questions answered. But thank you for the process, because we want to we want to train, we want to prepare, we want to get back to as much normalcy as possible. So I just wanted to publicly thank Youth and Sport and Maceo and his team for the testing process and how the testing process happened.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more.
I know more about the pandemic than I care to.
The everyday use of spices goes back well over 6,000 years, evidenced by archaeological finds in Europe, including remains of spiced food. Since 1976, the Frontier Natural Foods Co-op has been bringing a wide range of exciting flavors to the table. The results are good news for the environment and more robust, fragrant essential oils in these natural seasonings. We're featuring Frontier Natural Products, organic ground cloves, rub sage leaf, and poultry seasoning. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mr. B, with one of the scenarios being, as Maceo put it earlier, if 65% of the registered senior players get tested and you want to resume the league, if 3 teams possibly in either the Premier or the First Division are not in compliance, has the association held talks with the clubs or will hold talks with the clubs about relegation and promotion?
Well, I mean, you're asking us to crystal ball, which I'm not going to do.
Right.
What we will do is we will consider those things and the regulations that we have at our disposal today, and we'll make decisions based on that.
Okay. Remember, I mean, obviously you have to be in touch with the clubs on a regular basis as to what the next move is. What has been the latest conversations on the ground with the clubs?
The latest conversation that we had, well, not conversation, the latest communication that we sent to the clubs, which was what we got from youth coach and sport, which was the testing procedure and the latest return to sport guidelines. So that's what we've been able to send on to them. What we would like, and this is another part of the frustrating process, that part of it is that we haven't been able to plan, is a date as to when we will go to stage 4. Up until now, we've just been speculating. If we're given a date, then we could then release a schedule. We could then ascertain what clubs, what stage clubs are in as far as the training processes are concerned. All of these things is hard for us to plan.
Yeah. Okay. Maceo?
Yeah, I mean this pandemic, I think we're all been exhausted with the whole pandemic. So for me, I would like to just change lanes a minute or ask another question just about you yourself. Know your history, Mark, as you're represented in your football days. One of the actual most dominant club in Bermuda in PAT. You coached the most successful club in football in PAT. You served at the executive as well as you're now transitioned into the most powerful position in football as the BFA president. Your journey is likened to that of Franz Beckenbauer, that also transitioned from one of the most powerful clubs in Germany to the head of football. What is your challenge in unifying us? The challenge in unifying football in Bermuda, and what some of the plans moving forward to try to unify us?
But there's my view on that is quite simple. And I said this before I even joined the BFA executive. My ethos is to lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I think over the last, I've been on the executive of the BFA for 10 years. And we've, over those years, reached out numerous times and in numerous platforms. And at this point, I would say that those who are on board will be the ones that are on board, and those who have resisted those attempts will always be on the outside. That's unfortunate, but I think at some point there has to be leadership and direction.
Okay. Coach Keeler?
I don't have any questions at the moment for the president. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't have any real questions for the president at this time.
Okay. Can you take us through the process? Because obviously, Mr. President, Bermuda is not unique with what's been going on pandemically. In our region, it's all been the same, and everyone's fighting to try and figure out what to do next, domestically and internationally. How much time have you guys kind of leaned on each other to see who's making headway and who needs help? So it's kind of a regional come together as opposed to a individual country coming together.
Yeah, I mean, we have our chat group, and we've had a couple presidents' forums where we've been able to discuss, where each country is, and even privately exchange ideas. And as you say, everyone's in a similar boat. I'm happy to say that Bermuda is in probably in better condition than some, and a bit more accommodating as well. So, for example, the Cayman Islands has some very good numbers, COVID-free, but their borders are effectively closed. Mm-hmm. Whereas Bermuda's numbers are low, but our borders are open, and so it varies. Everyone is dealing with similar frustrations. With international matches, a lot of countries are playing in neutral venues. There's a bunch who will go into the Dominican Republic. Just speaking with the Aruba president, they haven't played football for months. We're dealing with 2 months where they have had no activity for over 6 months. So it's well, I guess we lean on each other's shoulder figuratively, and try and share information and try and help each other out.
And how has Victor been throughout this whole scenario, this whole process? Talking about the president of Concacaf, Victor Montagliani.
Well, again, very supportive, and he's able to connect the dots as well. So he may have had a conversation with Grenada, and that information might be useful to Suriname. So he's able to do that. From even international front, Concacaf's been very helpful with arranging meetings with the different groups. So our group B, that was pretty challenging as well. I think Aruba's going to play their matches at IMG in Florida. I'm not sure if they've announced that yet, but so it's been support, and I think FIFA's also been very supportive and patient, because the deadline actually for naming where you would play your international match was January 22nd, a month ago. But the pandemic has caused a lot of uncertainty. So I think Concacaf's been supportive, and FIFA's been very patient with everyone.
All right, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, Coach.
Has there been any discussion with regards to fans? I don't know if that was discussed before I came in. With regards to fans attending the match, the first match on the 30th.
Brief discussions. We have submitted our exemption, and we're hopeful that we can at least get 1,000 fans.
Hot tickets.
Hot tickets.
Monsieur?
Yeah, we had 1,000 at the final holiday. So.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So with different countries' regulations that relates to COVID, what are the challenge of us getting our international players here when we're thinking about quarantine and stuff like that? Is that even a likelihood that can happen?
I think each player is going to have to kind of make that decision. in consultation with the clubs. So the players that are playing in one of the national leagues, the league below Dale and Justin Donovan, their league's not gonna continue. So, they'll be available. The others, it's a discussion that's gonna have to be had with the clubs, because when they return to the UK, there's a quarantine period, versus there not being a quarantine period in Bermuda. So that's a specific discussion with specific clubs and specific players.
Mhm. And obviously,
Yeah,
the
lot of stuff not adding up, and it's no real answers, man, in there.
Yeah.
well, none of us went to medical school, so we
And I will say everyone is kind of waiting until the last minute to make a decision, because things change so quickly. So we might get down to a week before the match and maybe there's no quarantine. So then there will be a frantic effort to try and get a player released. I'm sure the reason why Canada has waited this long, because they would love to be able to play at home. And then at some point the rubber hits the road and you have to make a decision. So I think everybody's doing the same thing, kind of waiting as long as they can to see if the restrictions loosen up and they're able to make a decision that either gives them a better opportunity to play at home, or more opportunity to have international players. Everybody has the same problem.
Okay. Well, we're going to take our second commercial break, and when we come back, Mr. Wade, we want to get into the CFU strategic plan for 2020-2026. We'll be right back.
Amy's Kitchen is an independent organic food producer, a family business who've been focusing on wholesome and flavorful foods for over 30 years. From their first pot pie right up to 1 million meals a day, and firmly believe in the importance of TLC throughout the entire journey to the final outcome. This month we're featuring Amy's Organic Soups, black bean, vegetable, minestrone, quinoa, kale, red lentil, low-fat split pea, and vegetable barley and more. All of them dairy, gluten, and lactose free. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
And welcome back to this Sunday, February 21st edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is co-host Maceo Dill and Coach Kita, as well as the president of the Bermuda Football Association, Mr. Mark Wade. Mr. Wade, just recently, the CFU released a strategic plan for the next 6 years. One of the things that are in here, that one of their objectives for on the field, is greater representation at FIFA international tournaments, such as at least 2 women's teams at the FIFA 2023 Women's World Cup, qualify at least 3 teams for the 2026 Men's World Cup, qualify at least 1 team for every FIFA Youth World Cup, qualify 2 teams for the 2027 Women's World Cup, and qualify at least 1 team for the FIFA Beach Soccer and Futsal World Cups. That's for the region. I mean, obviously everybody's got to pull in, but logistically or realistically, how much of that goal can be accomplished if it hasn't already?
I think quite a few of those can be accomplished. Some of their stuff aligns with our strategic plan, which is fantastic. And I think when you look at some of the action points to achieve this, increasing competition is one of it. So we have the CFU Challenge Series, which is at under 14. And you should have seen in there where they're trying to introduce under 21 tournament. Yeah. Works for us because that's one of the gaps in our structure. We've traditionally looked at CAC Games, Pan Am, and Olympics to fill that gap. But if the Caribbean's idea of an under 21 tournament helps us, or maybe fits as a better fit, maybe that's something that we'll look at.
Yeah, and I see Coach Kita licking her lips because now there's more opportunity football. So you could have that under 20 and then at under 21. Just hearing that, Coach Kita, obviously now you have, this will actually increase another avenue to continue with a program for another stepping stone for the girls and football.
Oh yeah, definitely. So all girls, have under 17s, and we just had a group that missed their under 17 tournament. So if we can have an under 17 and then under 21, we'll still capture that group. A lot of them are training with the women now, so their focus is on representing the senior team. But that under 21 tournament will be something that's amazing. People don't really see under 20 a difference between under 20 and under 21, but with the way our process has been going, that would be huge for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you're had Mark, you have a bit of experience within that position now, far as the global exposure to football, the global exposure to the European side of it, the African side of it, and also our Concacaf side of it. And we know that we had some things to improve on in our organizational skills in our CONCACAF side of it. And I'm glad to see from the CONCACAF piece that we're interested in improving and interested in growing to compete with Europe. Where do you see us on that journey from your tenure, your time within the BFA, and understanding that global movement that's happening for our region? Where are we? Where is Bermuda aligned with it, and where is CONCACAF aligned with it as it relates to Europe and Africa?
Well, let's talk about administratively first. The CONCACAF club licensing is a large part of trying to improve administratively, and so all of our clubs are subject to club licensing. So we have a new club licensing manager now, and we'll go through the club licensing process again to just identify areas where our clubs need to improve. As far as in the BFA executive, all of our women's members will go through the women's development. So Shaquita and Sharice have done it, and the next person that we're hoping will do it later this year is Kim Richards. And that always has a trickle-down effect on how our committees within the BFA operate. So that part is important. The relationship between CONCACAF and UEFA is also something else that's important as well. We have forums which we can avail ourselves to. We just went through a benchmarking survey that was driven by UEFA that looked at our football structure, and we got some very valuable feedback from that. As far as on the field of play, we've having our what I'll say, our cadre of UEFA B coaches is important, and we're seeing the improvements on the field of play through that program with the Coaches Association. So we're really trying to see how we can sort of reignite that. What we're also doing right now is to the entire coach education structure in Bermuda, and that's being driven by Maurice Lowe, where we'll have a full menu, I would say, of coach education, and that's an exciting process, which, well, you would know you're a part of it. So I think that again is also aligning itself very nicely with CONCACAF, who have a relationship with UEFA. So that's important, and the CONCACAF convention is also taking lots of pieces from UEFA. So recognizing that UEFA is sort of the pinnacle of coach education. A lot of the top clubs and countries are from UEFA. Concacaf has aligned itself, and the trickle-down effect is that Bermuda is benefiting from it.
If I can, Mr. Wade, how has, in your opinion, from the inside, obviously, how has FIFA recovered from those dark days a few years ago that went through all the turmoil from the leadership, through the administration? How do you think FIFA have come out of that so far?
Well, I was there.
Hey, be careful what you say there.
I
wasn't there.
That was a strange phone call, but yes, you were there.
I was there. I think FIFA and Concacaf. Let's not forget, Concacaf was right in the midst of it, right?
Yes.
I think first of all, structurally, with the ethics committee, and then also, holding people to account, and I think involving the courts has laid the marker down, so to speak, that there's sorts of corrupt activities won't be tolerated. So I think there's been a level of respect regained where FIFA and CONCACAF is concerned. Obviously, it's an ongoing process, and ensuring that we continue to identify persons and then holding them to account, right? And the latest activities with normalization committees and lifetime suspensions, those have to continue so that we maintain the goodwill that we've earned since 2016.
Yeah, I mean, there's interest, and as I follow the world game like that, I actually concur with Mark that especially from a Bermuda's perspective and our sort of rule. I don't want to use the word rule because we didn't have a rule in it, but position it seems like we're positioned within FIFA, within CONCACAF has become stronger. I mean, and I look at things like us receiving $500,000 for the women's committee, to as evidence of our goodwill within in FIFA, within CONCACAF, and something that I've always spoke about loudly about. I want to have people to these tables. So I want to have Bermudians sitting in these tables and being aggressive enough at those tables to get things that are beneficial to Bermuda football. So when you see the $500,000 coming our way, those are things. Now it's about how we use it and how we roll it out. But the other piece, we're also aware of the assistance that we get from FIFA for infrastructure development. That's an area that's always been a pet peeve of mine. And Mark, I'm not sure if you probably are aware. Maybe I think it's probably 15 years ago. I was in the UK and I noticed Iceland put together a proposal to FIFA for infrastructure development. They have to build domes to training and all that type of stuff. They put a comprehensive proposal, and I believe they received, if don't quote me on it, but like $25 million for strategic phase infrastructure development. And you could see what Iceland's done in how as a small country, what they're done to improve their on the field game as get the European Cup, being at the World Cup. What is the possibility of us being a little bit more aggressive in that area for infrastructure development for Bermuda? Right. And what does that look like, and how does that work?
Sure. So 15 years ago would have been the FIFA Goal projects, and those were $500,000 chunks. So Iceland would have gotten perhaps $1 million over 4 years. And I think the FIFA Goal projects was only an 8-year an 8-year program. What we have now is the FIFA Forward program, which actually removes a lot of the restrictions of the FIFA Girl projects. So what we've done is kind of prioritize. The first things were for us were to try and increase the amount of night venues, and the Congress approved projects at North Village and at PHC. We were able to also help some security club in their repairs. So that's, fingers crossed, next season we'll have 3 night venues. Hopefully Summer Security Club will come online for the remainder of this season. The next stage for us is then to replace the field surface here at the Clyde Bass Center of Excellence. And the idea is to try and find another venue for another artificial surface, which will bring our complement to 3. That's going to be a tall order, but it's an area that we're looking at. And there's a fairly large projects, and when I talk about large, I mean in sums of money. But then we're looking at smaller projects just to kind of improve the infrastructure. We've had the idea of improving the entry into our stadiums. So we do have a small budget for that, just to kind of upgrade the turnstiles. It's kind of the first thing that fans see, and maybe we can improve that. And then we're looking at other smaller projects where changing rooms are concerned. So it's a balance. We have to balance between infrastructure and programming, and hopefully, we're getting the balance right.
What has been outside of COVID? What has been your biggest challenges that you and your administration has been involved in throughout your tenure as leader? Not just being on the board, but as leader.
Well, to be honest, I think Maceo touched on it when he asked the question about unity. Mm-hmm. That's been a huge challenge, and some of the initiatives that we've tried haven't been successful. But I think hopefully slowly but surely we've brought people on board. So if I think over the 4 years of me being the president, but prior to that I was chairman of, and still am chairman of, player development. There were several programs where we used to try and reach out and bring people into the field, so to speak. We had regional technical meetings where we tried to meet with technical directors of all the clubs. We tried to do that on a regular basis. We have, and we still do have, a yearly symposium where we get together and discuss football and different football subjects. That's had, it's not been as successful as we would have liked. And the thing that I point to is really, we had somebody of Shaka Hislop's ilk here in Bermuda. This is a Premier Division goalkeeper, and now a football pundit. And we had him in our shores, and people had access to him through the symposium, and then also to hear him at the awards. But by and large, not the numbers that I would expect. So those programs, they continue. We continue to do that, and we're always looking for new ideas. But it has been very, very frustrating to not have the type of unity that will really, give us a push going forward. We had some successes, and we've had some strategic partnerships that have bear some fruit, right? The Coaches Association is one of them. We had some partnerships with, at one time, futsal was doing very well for us, and we had some strategic partnerships there. We We even had some other partnerships that have done very well. But that's probably the biggest challenge. Trying to get people to buy into the direction and where we're going. I wonder sometimes whether it's how much effort we need to put into it. It's always nice to have everybody rowing the boat in the same direction, but at sometimes you have to stick your hand up and say, okay, I tried, and let's move on, and let's go with who's rowing, and perhaps success will bring unity.
We'll be back after this commercial break.
This month, we're featuring a range of infant and baby care products from Hello Bello, a company started up by a husband and wife team who were inspired to meet the challenges arising from the often surprising, not to mention messy experiences that came with the territory known as parenting. The couple behind Hello Bello know that being a parent is uniquely demanding, and their mission is to bring you premium products at gentle prices. Try Hello Bello Alpha diapers in a range of sizes, Alpha Blossom baby lotion, baby powder, and much more. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mr. President, you brought it up earlier about the different amount of matches in the strategic plan for CFU. Can we see in the near future greater participation in such as the Olympic qualifiers, the Pan Am qualifiers? I know it has to add to the staff because you're going to deal with a different group of players. Some will play up, some will play down and all that. But can we see, especially for the festivals that are dealing with the BOA, to give the players a little more international opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. That's in the next 4 years. That's what we want to do. We want to have, and I use under 23, where we want to be able to fill the gap that we have right now. A player goes from under 20 and is either directly into the senior men's and senior women's team, or is waiting for the call up.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's all a question of timing, balancing resources of when we can see us doing that. But we certainly see that in the next 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Maceo?
Yeah, you and I, Mark, had some very colorful and spirited debates about football over the years. That's what it is. You coming from PHC, me coming from North Village. As we move you brought up an interesting point about rowing the same way and collaboration. And in every country that has success, there is collective collaboration, whether it be in their churches, their school systems, their football, all those things have strong collaboration to move them forward from an international standpoint. The question I want to ask around that, you have obviously experience on the ground with football, and it's pretty much of a loaded question, and I know that your time at PHC, you were instrumental in evolving their football from the whole athletics way of football under NIABS to a more playing style of football. What do you see as our style as a Bermudian, from a Bermudian piece of football? What and I know it's not for you to decide yourself, but what is your vision as to what our football should look like from our cultural standpoint?
Well, you're right. It's not my decision.
but I am putting you on the spot. I did call you Franz Beckenbauer. If you remember at the beginning of this, I said, "Well, your journey is very similar to Franz Beckenbauer."
Well, yeah, for me, and I'll put it to you this way: while I played for PHC, my international team was Argentina, and my English Premier team was Liverpool, neither of which played anything like PHC. And to be quite honest, I didn't like the way PAC played, but I knew that I was a part of an organization that was rich in history, and I knew that changing that wouldn't come overnight. And so that process took 10 years. So in terms of how I like to see us play, I think we're very close to what I would like to see. For some of the matches that I've seen where I've been ecstatic of what I've seen from our players is very close to the way I would like to see football played. Some of the things that, and I'll give you an example. In Dominican Republic, when Justin Donner relieved us all with his goal, it was what happened before that really brought a smile to my face. With Nicky Wells chasing down a nothing ball, the defender is trying to shield the ball out for a goal kick. He steals the ball, he presses the player turns and makes a bare pass, and pass is intercepted. That to me is the type of work rate that I'm looking for. And prior to that, our first goal is what the coaching staffer and Mauricio described as a Bermuda goal, which is John Simmons breaking down the right-hand side. He skips past a player and he crosses the ball for a tap-in. That to me is so close to what I'm looking for in what Bermuda football is.
How
definitely in the World Cup we okay.
Good, Monsieur. Good.
Yeah, definitely in the World Cup, we received a lot of positive feedback for way that we attack teams, and I like to use the word that we were arrogant. We were arrogant in our approach and fearless in our approach, and that's part of our culture as Bermudians. We go places and people say you're a Bermudian. It's how you carry yourself, and now it's showing up in our football, and there is such thing as a positive arrogance and a negative arrogance. Even our approach against Mexico was arrogant to say that we was going to press them. It didn't work in Bermuda. We changed it so those things are really good. Now, the question I'll ask about that on the field, I know that we receive great positive feedback from how we're improving ourselves administratively as it relates to our counterparts in the Caribbean, but we're not beating them yet. How frustrating is that, and how do we change that? How do we fix that?
Sure. I think we're well on our way to fixing that. Yes, it is frustrating. It's frustrating to see that happen, but I think we're on our way to doing that. I think it really us just kind of pulling all the pieces together at the same time is probably our biggest hurdle. So while we may have the players with the ability, trying to get them all on the same page is a struggle because they're not all in Bermuda. They're in the US, they're in the UK, and then we've got a local contingent of players. So that's the piece where we have to try and get them together more. How we do that, that's part of the challenge. I think the National Academy virtual sessions. So COVID has done something for us. COVID's given us a new tool called Zoom that where we can all connect with players, and we can send videos and have them send videos back. We can have meetings. We can just so the use of technology has become a big thing. Where we saw, I'll tell you, one of the tools that we started to use a lot, which was bearing a lot of fruit, was using match analysis and we had a company that would analyze our matches and then provide feedback. We started off doing it manually. If you remember the technical study group that we had, that would analyze matches and provide feedback to the coaching staff. But now we can do that using technology, and we can do that a lot more comprehensively. That was very, very successful. And being able to share with a player, this is how much ground you travel. This is how many touches. These are your actions. This is your percentage of pass completion. This is how many times you take a midfielder and say this is how many times you won the ball. That was a big step for us. And we're using that and we don't have to be face to face to share that information. That's something you send an email and here's your report. Let's get together on Zoom and discuss it. So technology is playing a big part as well. So I think sure. To answer your question, I think we're on our way to starting to just creep up the sort of CFU standards. What I'm looking for is not spikes but consistency. And I think we're starting to see a bit of consistency. We're going from not making it out of the group stages of tournaments to making it out regularly. We had one or two disappointments, but I think by and large we're still making it out of the group. But we have to stay ahead of them because the world is a very small place. By now they all know how we got some of the improvements. They all know about the National Academy, so they're all trying to do the similar sort of things. So now we have to, find the next thing that keeps us ahead of our competition.
Mm-hmm. What about the patience of it all? Because obviously we were on a roll, like everyone else has stopped. But I know Bermudians are tough, as Macy and I talk a lot. They want this team when they go out on the 25th to be right back where they were in New Jersey. But we're going to be the expectation has to be one of much patience. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. How do we manage those expectations? That's difficult, And my history at PAC, it's normal. It's normal. So. Managing expectations is a challenge, right? And yes, everybody's going to expect the team to be in the same space, and perhaps they won't be, but I think they will be. I think every country has the same problem, so maybe we're gonna fare a little bit better. We're gonna get a good look at where we are. First week of March, so I can announce that here. We have 2 international friendlies. We're gonna travel over to IMG to play 2 international friendlies. So we gotta look at maybe some new players, some younger players. We'll have a pretty good idea by then what professional players we're gonna have at our disposal and the ones who we won't. So maybe the first week of March will tell us some information about where we are, where we sit. Next thing,
I'm smiling. Your feeling hasn't wrong yet?
Not yet. Yeah. It's all right.
Oh, you're unreachable. You're unreachable. So no. Any final questions, Monsieur? Because you just dropped a bombshell.
No, I appreciate these conversations, right? Yeah, I see that. I'm digesting it, right? Ask my question, right? No, but I appreciate these forums, right? To have discussions and even debates about how we move things forward for football, because I think you come from an era similar to mine where I actually want to win, right? It's like I make no secret of it. I understanding how winning has to happen, what we have to build to winning and managing expectations. You come from a big club PHC where they did win. You know, I come from a club locally, North Village, where we win. You know, now we as representing our country, we, you know, that don't go away, right? That don't go away, the desire to win and also sustain ourselves to move forward within our region, to be a lot more dominant within our region. So I mean, I just encourage, and I know it's a thankless position being in the position, but you know, it's something that I continue to I would like to encourage you as the president of the association. And one thing that I like to leave on the wall is our ability to collaborate and be inclusive in what this process looks like, because I think we all love football. You know, we definitely love football, and a lot of us have done it thanklessly without payment. You know, so that says a lot, that you take a run, that you sit in a position as president, you take criticism, no matter which way it looks like. You can get criticized for whatever the choice you make, and we stay there, right? So I can appreciate that, and I look forward for further collaboration. But I'll behave better.
That's the key.
Yeah. What we have to do is put a chain around his neck, and every time he acts up, it gives us. Well, Mr. President, I know you've actually enlightened us on some big things that will happen. Obviously, first thing is tomorrow or by Tuesday, we will have some indication of where we will be matching up against Canada. You did indicate that the 30th we will be playing at home, and you've put in an application for 1,000 spectators. And obviously, the other bombshell was the fact that you're heading off to IMG for 2 practice matches, which undoubtedly I know the coach and coaching staff would be really excited with the fact that there's a possibility to get some matches under these guys, get their legs going over, and then still have a few weeks to recover in order to take on Canada and Aruba in Bermuda. So I want to thank you very much for your time. As Maceo said, we want to keep encouraging the association, and hopefully we get some good news from the government regarding return to play stage 4, and we can get back into some football.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate the invite to be on the show, and all the best to you guys.
Okay. Answer your phone in about 5 minutes. Folks, enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, you guys.